Fuel system. Check. Cross feeds. Check. South Africa is a relatively small country. With the advent of flight, you're no more than 3 hours away from any destination. Hop on a plane, before you know it, zoop, you're there. Simple, easy, quick and efficient. But with South Africa being that small, it also means that you're no more than a day's drive away from anywhere in the country. With modern advances in direct injection and diesel technology, you may even be able to do that on one tank. But what if you've got a big V8 SUV? Could you still do it on one tank? We'd like to find out, so we're going to take the new VW Touareg V8 TDI Executive on a trip from Joburg to Cape Town and try and do it on only one tank. Well, here we go, fueled up. It's 3:30 in the morning. We've got, well, they say that we've got about 1,377 kilometers to go, and the range says 930. Once we get out on the open road, that should improve a little bit. But the fluids are topped up. We're ready to rock and roll. Let's hit the road. First check-in, we're 2 hours into our journey. We've done about 200 kilometers. What we have noticed is that the gauge is doing a little bit of moving. Our range went up and has dropped back down to 930 now. So we've gained about 200 kilometers in that whole process. What we have noted though is that our fuel consumption improves just by dropping 10 kilometers an hour. Our estimated time of arrival hasn't changed any. In fact, that's come down by a few minutes. So we haven't lost any time by dropping 10 kilometers an hour. We've just gained a whole whack of fuel. We're now 4 hours into our journey, just outside of Bloemfontein, on the other side of Bloemfontein. And we've just got 970 odd Ks to go until we hit our destination in the Cape. Now the range is sitting there and it's saying that we've got like 820, 830 kilometers to go, which isn't very promising. And the fuel gauge is now reading just under 3/4. Good news is that the fuel consumption has now hit its target of 7.4, but it's a little late to the party. We've had to drop our speed down to 100 kilometers an hour in order to achieve that. That hasn't affected our estimated time of arrival, our ETA. That one's still hovering around 7 o'clock in the evening. But the VW Touareg, well, to report, 4.2 litre motor is an absolute gem. We're not flexing its muscles here. It's got 250 kilowatts, 800 Newton meters to work with, but we can't touch any of that. We're only tickling it, and that's the best way to go. With that sort of power, it's going to be very thirsty in town, as we've already found out, but it should be nice and economical here on the road. And it's getting there slowly but surely. Other than that, the drive is absolutely superb. Well, we're stretching the legs here in Colesberg, which is largely regarded as a halfway point between Johannesburg and Cape Town. We're down at 500 odd kilometers, and we've still got another 700 to go. Car's performing flawlessly, and we've managed to get that average fuel consumption down to below the manufacturer claims. They claim 7.4, we've got it down to 7.2, which is looking good. Still a little hit and miss though, and it's going to come down to the wire. We did this by dropping the speed by about 10, 20 k's an hour in places. It's 12 o'clock now, and we are 8 hours into our journey. Been driving for about 7.5 of those. A little bit of a status update here. We've got 600 k's to go, but our range says that we've got 550 kilometers left. Diesel, fuel. We're just under halfway on the tank as well, so things are starting to get a little bit pushy here towards the end. Our average is sitting at 7.2, and that's under VW's claimed 7.4, which is good, but that's largely because we've been doing 100 kilometers an hour all the way down. Now, when it comes to saving fuel, you need to consider a couple of different things. One of the big important ones on a long trip like this is fatigue. you are going to get tired. You are staring at the same stretch of road for an extended period of time. If you have to sit there and constantly concentrate on keeping the throttle in exactly the same position as you drive down, it's going to kill you. It's just going to fatigue you prematurely. Use that little bit of extra fuel by going with the cruise control. The cruise control isn't going to keep a steady throttle, it's going to keep a steady speed. And when you're trying to be economical, you want a steady throttle. The speed will waver with the uphills and downhills, but the throttle input stays the same. I wouldn't recommend it. We've been running here on the cruise control, and we've been able to get it underneath the manufacturer claimed fuel consumption average. So really, not the end of the world. Another thing is aircon and the windows. Many guys will switch off the aircon believing that it's going to save you a bit of fuel. It has been proven that the aircon is more efficient than an open window at speeds over 60 k's an hour. So if you are doing a long haul like this, do it in the comfort. Again, there's going to be less fatigue. So go for it. Put on the aircon, set the climate control, try and keep the windows closed. Those cause a lot of drag and that slows you down. Other than that, let's see if we can make it. Right, so we've been driving for about 10 hours now. We've covered 920 odd kilometers. And we've still got 433 to go, but the sort of good news is that we've got 420 kilometers listed on the range. Got just above a quarter tank here, so we may be able to make it, but it is starting to get a little stressful because as we get closer, we don't want to run the car dry, so the temptation is there to top up with a little bit of fuel, and we don't want to do that. We want to try and make it on one tank. So you need to be patient when you do these sort of things. You need to be patient on a long drive as well. There really is no point in risking your life just because the vehicle in front of you is doing 10 k's an hour slower, overtaking on a blind rise or something. Drop your speed a little bit. It's not going to affect your time. Trust me, it's not going to affect your time. That's what I've seen here now. And in fact, you're going to get there a little more relaxed. I think if I was doing 20, 30 k's an hour more, I'd be a little more high strung. I mean, I've sat with stop and goes and all kinds of things along the way, traffic and traffic lights through Beaufort. But you know what, in the end of the day, I'm getting there a little more relaxed just because I'm taking the time and I'm being patient about things. And you do, if you're going to do this type of drive, you just have to be patient. Rather get there alive than get there, stressed out, or not get there at all. We're in Johannesburg and it's been a long drive. We're about 12 hours into the journey, just shy of that. And we've still got 266 kilometers to go. And our range is now sitting at 260. So there's a little glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. And we'll see now if that translates into us making it on this single tank or not. So a lot closer, but there is a lot in between that is going to make this very, very tricky as well. There's a little bit of stop-start just as we start getting into Gordons Bay. That's where we're headed. So far, it's been pretty comfortable. I'll tell you what, it's probably the most comfortable that I've ever traveled down to Cape Town in. You'd have to fly business class for it to be any better. And sadly, that's not an option for us mere mortals. The interior is brilliantly appointed and it's such an improvement over the previous generation Touareg. Some of the mod cons that make it so much better is naturally the cruise control, the climate control, and then of course the heated and the air-conditioned seats. That has made a world of difference. The multitude of adjustments on the electrically adjustable seats, and thank you VW for giving us electric adjustment, has made it absolutely comfortable. Great driving position with minimal fatigue. You're going to have a little bit after 12 hours, but nothing to complain about. In fact, it's been pretty good most of the way. So now just to see if we can eke the last couple of Ks out of what is just less than a quarter of a tank. All right, there we go, it's just happened. Fuel light has come on. Says that we've got 130 kilometers to go, so that's quite a bit, but that's now just because it's touched down on the red. So 130 Ks, fortunately our destination 121 Ks, but we've got a bit of up and down coming up here, and that's just going to mess things around. Things are getting tight. This is coming down to the wire. This is going to be interesting. All right, here we go. This is the part that many people think is pretty much the transition over into the Cape. It is Huguenot Tunnel. And things are looking a little bleak. 73 k's to go, 60 k's on the range, firmly in the red. You don't want to get stuck in this tunnel. You are fined severely if you do happen to get stuck. But fortunately, it's only about a 8k stretch or so. So it's not the end of the world. But I am going to be so pleased to see light on the other side. I just don't know if we're going to make it all the way to Gordons Bay. I hope we do. I really do.
Write your age in the sand, watch it wash away. Grim reminders of secrets told, swept away before unhappy D-Day. On the sand to the wire, sweet of the sunsets. Oh, we laughed into the fire, the night our inhibitions died.
Our goal was to do Joburg to Cape Town, beautiful, beautiful Gordons Bay, on only one tank. And we did it. Only by the sniff of an oil rag did we manage to make it here. But we've got maybe 2.5 liters left in the tank. 1340 kilometers done from Joburg, but we're here. V8 TDI, sun setting over the bay. And I tell you what, I couldn't be more thrilled. The last couple of kilometers were absolutely stressful. Zero readings on the 0 kilometers to go on that range, and I can't believe it. We're here, we did it. Now, I think a cold one and a garage. Let's do it.
You gotta love it.